Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Evan Lipkiss with another episode of Doctor in Your House. Yes, you're in your house, and I'm here with you. And I want you to subscribe. It's the bottom right. If you click on the watermark, it'll be very, very easy. It'll say subscribe. Just click it. Why? Because my mission is to positively impact you and to keep you safe. And I'm going to come into your house every week over the weekend when you have a little time to watch this, but this is a short one. So we're going to cover COVID questions. There were a couple of them which were very good, and we're going to mention first names only. And we're going to cover further weight loss tips because there's really a pandemic in obesity, especially in the United States. And we're going to cover the monkey business of monkeypox. And then finally, I know, we've got a song for you. And this is one that I have written. It tells a little bit of the story of my life because I'm producing a musical called Get Up Again. So stay with me. There's lots of short but sweet information, and we're going to cover it today. We have a couple of questions from our listeners. One is from Tammy. Tammy, you asked the question that if you get cold symptoms, well, why isn't it just a plain old garden variety cold? What's the worry? And the worry is that both colds and COVID-19 are caused by the coronavirus, SARS-CoV-2, if you want to know the real name. At any rate, if you have symptoms of COVID-19, you have symptoms of colds and vice versa. So you've got to get checked. Yes, I'll fully admit that people who have COVID-19 usually have a fever of 100.4 or more, but I think it's wise to test with an antigen test as soon as you have symptoms of a cold because it may masquerade as COVID light. I'll call it COVID light because maybe you're not having terrible symptoms from it. And so I do believe when you do get a cold, test with the antigen test right away. If you were exposed to somebody, like for 30 minutes, who had COVID, then you want to test in 5 days. You can use the antigen test, but if there's any doubt, as I showed you in my last video, please test with a confirmatory nuclear antigen, not nuclear antigen, but rather a nuclear amplification test, which can be done at Walgreens or at CVS or other pharmacies, or you can do a PCR test that takes longer to confirm, 1 to 3 days, versus the nuclear test, NAAT, done at the pharmacies that takes about 30 minutes. Okay, that was the first question. Second question was Larry, and Larry was more of an informational source because he said, Dr. Evan, what's going on with Paxlovid? Should you give it to everybody? And really, the answer to that question came out in an article recently. Probably not. Paxlovid is a treatment for COVID-19. It's given over 5 days. It interacts with salmeterol, which is an inhaler, and it has several other interactions with statins and anticoagulants. So you have to be aware of that. But no, it should not be given in everybody. Why? Because we really need to give the drug to people who are at high risk. People that are 65 or above, that are immunocompromised with obesity, diabetes, high blood pressure, cardiopulmonary disease, or actually, people that have diseases that really immunocompromise them, like leukemias, etc. The main thing that I want to point out is that Paxlovid, after you treat, some people will get a resurgence of symptoms. We're not sure what this means, whether we should ignore it or do another treatment. This is in the far minority, but it does happen. So because of this, I think that if you're younger, you're not having terrible symptoms, you could wait and it may just go away on its own. Of course, check with your doctor on anything I say, but if the symptoms are mild and you're not in an immunocompromised state, you might want to wait because the symptoms of COVID-19 actually may go away on their own. So with Paxlovid, generally immunocompromised people, 5 days, watch for big time interactions, and it's a great drug, 90% prevention of death and hospitalization. So those are two great questions. Thank you both, and we'll go on to the next topic. Now, as far as weight loss is concerned, I just want to reiterate that when you try to lose weight, look at all these hormones that we have that kind of work against us. If I can just, we've got leptin, which is the one most people know about. It's produced by fat cells, and leptin goes up to make us feel full after we've eaten a meal. But when you lose weight, leptin doesn't work as well. And all these other hormones, peptide, YY, cholecystokinin, and insulin, these hormones don't work as well to negate the hunger. And willpower just doesn't work. How can you have willpower against hunger? Yes, I admit 2% of the population is able to keep off weight 10 years or longer. That's a fact. But I'm not one of them, and most of you aren't either. And then you've got this other hormone called ghrelin, and ghrelin is the hunger hormone. And guess what? When you lose weight, that increases, plus your metabolism slows. That's why I'm a believer in medication for long-term weight loss, just like you would use a statin for cholesterol or a blood pressure medicine for high blood pressure. It's the same idea. They're all chronic diseases, and we need to start treating obesity or being overweight as a chronic disease. Okay, so let's go over some weight loss tips. First of all, I wanted just to cover weight in general. What are the advantages of losing weight? And you're going to reduce cardiovascular risk. Being overweight and obese is a risk factor for heart disease. You're going to delay or totally cure diabetes. And I had a hemoglobin A1C of 6.5%, which is diabetes. It runs in my family. And sure enough, I had to lose weight, and I lost 22 pounds, and I continued to keep it off. And my A1C dropped from diabetes into the pre-diabetic range, and I might even be out of the pre-diabetic range by now when I test again. Osteoarthritis, number 3. This just means wear and tear arthritis. For example, I play tennis, try to play 2 or 3 times a week. My left knee is bone on bone. And I'll tell you, it starts to hurt with ground and pound, but I love the game. And so if you lose weight, you have less wear and tear on the joint. So that has also helped me. And it doesn't matter if you have osteoarthritis of your hips or your back, weight loss can be a definite advantage. So you improve your quality of life and your overall health. It's a good deal. Now, when I realize that most of you are not one of the 2% of the people who can keep weight off for 10 years or more, but in the people that did, they still followed good nutrition and behavioral aspects. So, number 1, they were self-aware. So by being self-aware, you have a little more control over what you eat. We are not in the reasoning mode most of the time. We're in the emotional and ego emotional world. And so if you can become self-aware, you might treat your food like treasure. Okay? You might look at it like, hey, I'm going to eat slower. This is precious food and I'm going to enjoy it. That's being self-aware, because usually when you eat, it's hypnosis. You just keep on shoveling the food and you're talking or you're reading the newspaper and you're distracted. And that's what hypnosis is all about, distraction. So if you can become more aware of what you're doing, you'll lose weight. Also, the den. The den is trouble for me, so I figure if it's trouble for me, it might be trouble for you. If I'm watching TV, especially now with the NBA playoffs, I love the NBA. And unfortunately, with the NBA, when there's a lot of games, I might start to snack and eat. And the longer I'm in the den, the worse it is. I still, by the way, almost from the beginning predicted Boston would win. We'll have to see. At any rate, get out of the den, go to the bedroom. You're not going to eat in the bedroom. You don't have much access to the kitchen. So that just is common sense. Have healthy and fulfilling snacks. And that means like things like popcorn, which is filling. I wrote the popcorn diet, carrots, fruit. I have frozen strawberries because frozen strawberries can be useful in that you have to suck on them. You can't chew them right away or you're going to get that freeze and that pain in your head from the glossopharyngeal nerve being exposed to cold. So Greek yogurt is another one that's filling. Oatmeal is, it could be just 100 calories in an instant pack, and it's very filling. And it might be sweet enough to fulfill the carboholic craving. Anyway, the other strategy that you can do is to take finite portions of your food. You don't have to take the whole box. So when you come from the kitchen, don't take the whole bag or the whole box. Take a finite portion. That way, you're unlikely to overeat because then you're going to have to get up from the couch, go back to the kitchen, and get more. Weigh occasionally. This keeps you in control, and you can say, yeah, I lost a pound, that's good. If you're getting too much shame or guilt, then don't do it, or weigh just occasionally. Do what's right for you in this case. Bet. It's actually been shown that betting helps people to lose weight. And then finally, the one that I'm doing with you is being accountable. One of the reasons I'm doing these YouTube videos is I can be accountable to you about my weight. And that's important. That's why the power of the group works with Weight Watchers. It's why a dietitian or a behaviorist or a therapist or a friend can be very, very helpful. So I don't want you to think you just take a med and everything's fine. That's not the case. It's like blood pressure. You still want to reduce your salt, reduce your calories a bit. With obesity being a chronic disease, take the medicine, eat slower, do the behavioral things that are necessary, and eat nutritionally sound. A Mediterranean diet is my favorite diet, or a plant-based diet is also a good one. Okay, so let's get into a little monkey business, which really is monkey business, and that's monkeypox. I don't want you to be too worried about this because, yes, I know it usually occurs in Africa, and now we're seeing cases all over the world, but there are still only 300 cases. This is not a highly contagious disease. I don't believe that there are all these mutations like we see with COVID-19, and the symptoms in human beings are pretty mild. Some adenopathy, which means that your lymph nodes can get enlarged in your neck. Some people will get a monkeypox rash, which you can kind of see at the bottom of the screen here. Kind of looks like big time chicken pox. It takes about 14 days to incubate, and usually, again, it feels like a viral illness. The symptoms are mild. Yes, 10% of people may die from this disease. So right now, I will tell you, if you are old enough and you've had the smallpox vaccine, this will give you some immunity. However, right now, the CDC is only recommending healthcare workers that are in the vicinity of the monkeypox virus, let's say in a lab, that they get vaccinated. So there's either the smallpox vaccine or this Jynneos vaccine, which can be useful against monkeypox. There's also viral agents, like acyclovir treats herpes. Cidovir is another antiviral that can treat monkeypox. Anything that ends in a vir remdesivir for COVID is antiviral agent. So I'm going to keep my eyes out on monkeypox, monitor it for you. But right now, I wouldn't get bent out of shape with it. I think it's at a very low level. I doubt that this will become a pandemic or anything even near that. Okay, so coffee has been in the news, but really, coffee has been in the news for many, many years. I think that just about every study I have read regarding coffee is positive. Coffee might prevent heart disease. It might prevent Parkinson's disease. All sorts of antioxidant pleasures in coffee. And the neat thing here is in this recent study, you could even add sugar to your coffee, and the coffee just overwhelmed the negative effects of the sugar. And it actually still was beneficial in preventing death. Now, you could put me on a desert island and there was no water, and I would be like Jack Benny. You know, somebody would put a gun to Jack Benny's back and they would say your money or your life, and there would be a pause. He'd have to think about it. I'd have to think about it too. About 1 out of 2 or 1 out of 4 people just don't like coffee. I wish I did, because it's very healthy for you. Now, that doesn't mean that you order a caramel, whatever this is, macchiato, okay? I'm not sure the pronunciation of that, but you know, there's all sorts of coffee pleasures that have loads of sugar. I think if you put a teaspoon of sugar in your coffee, that's adequate or nothing, and you'll derive the health benefits of this terrific beverage. Tea is probably equivalent. We have many studies on green tea and black tea helping as an antioxidant to prevent possibly heart disease and prolonging life. So either one I think is a good idea. Coffee probably has the most evidence. And since this just came out, I wanted to make you aware of it. Now, I don't think you have to go and guzzle it like this lady, but it can be helpful for you. Okay, so finally, we have a little bit of entertainment. Let me kind of just tell you what I'm doing, and I'm going to keep you updated on this retirement project of mine called Get Up Again. As I've probably indicated, I'm really no different than anybody else. I've had many cataclysms. You might say I've had more than most people, but other people would say the opposite. But I've had enough cataclysms in my life that Get Up Again kind of came to me, and I feel passionate about it. So there was this bully, and I changed the name and kind of made up this cover. There was a bully on my street, and he actually, when he would come up to me when I was 6 years old, he would take my glasses, throw them on the ground, and then step on them. So this is a story about that bully, and actually I was bullied from the ages of 5 till 18 when I went to college. I never quite understood why. Probably some of it was that I was an academic nerd. I was into chess and chorus and maybe uncool things, and perhaps my empathy showed that I was very sensitive to it, so I was picked on a lot. This is just one of the stories I thought I would play for you. Rock, he was a miserable soul, and he smashed my glasses so I couldn't see. At Rock, he was a big asshole, he was a bully, and he always picked on me. But Phil, I loved him through and through. But Phil, it was the union of a Catholic and Jew. Nat Rock crushed my glasses 5 times. I was 6 years old and didn't know what to do. Nat's dad, he did not help with this crime. I felt trapped just like a monkey in a zoo. But Phil, we played line ball and some chess. But Phil, a friend for life, I must confess. Attacked me once again, so I worked out with my weights for 7 weeks. Nat Rock grabbed my glasses again, and then I made a fist and punched him in the cheek. But Phil, the only true friend I had, Phil Hesse, but Phil, we ate ice cream, played tennis, my comrade. Nat Rock, he was a miserable soul. He was a bully and he caused me much distress. Nat Rock, he was a big asshole. He stayed away, I guess he had to convalesce. Now, I am not going to be singing in my musical. Obviously, this is a demo tape. And I found the accompaniment. I wrote the song and the tune, but I found the accompaniment on a site called Fiverr, Fiverr.com. And this was kind of interesting because you can get almost anything done that you want. And this guy was from Nigeria in Africa. And he had a studio called D as in dog, D Plus Studios. It doesn't get any better than that. So I had him do the background. I thought he did a great job on it. And he kind of put my voice in there. And it's a true story. And I think that the lesson, which unfortunately I did not learn, because I learned appeasement was the way to attack bullying. You know, if you appeased and you acted nice, things would get better. No, I really learned my lesson as a 6-year. I thought I learned my lesson as a 6-year-old. You have to face it, not necessarily fight, but you need to face up to it and attack it head on. Today, fortunately, in the schools, many schools are adopting teacher-student council meetings to meet with both the bullied and the bullier. And I think this is important because both on social media and in the schools, I don't think people should be able to get away with that. And the more boards that we have that consist of students and teachers, the better off we're going to be to, nip the bullying in the bud. Because bullying, both the bullied and the bullier, can become anxious and depressed later on. And who knows, it may be a risk factor for domestic terrorism. So we need to attack this head on, and I'm passionate about this. I'll be lucky if I get this musical into a elementary school because I have no history of any musical education except for chorus. But I hope you enjoyed the song, and I'll play more of them if you like this kind of idea. Finally, if you're interested in information, whether it's low back pain, weight loss, insomnia, I keep writing info articles, and they're well researched, and you can go to my website, drlipkiss.gumroad.com. Yes, I know The Scarecrow, which I love, The Wizard of Oz. Some people without brains do an awful lot of talking, don't they? Okay, I'm going to shut up. That's it. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. I would while away the hours, conferring with the flowers, consulting with the rain.